Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with the FIA Nations round number 3 at Autodrome Lego Maggiore in the N300 class of cars. So for this race, the Ferrari F50 was pretty much the dominant car that everyone was going in top speed. I think we only saw in the races that I did, all 3 races, there was just one or two races, I think one race or two races where there was a couple of KTMs in there, but the F50 was clearly the car to go for qualifying and the race conditions with tyre wear, etc. So first race of the day, this was the first race we done. It was slot number 1. Didn't go in with much practice, if I'm honest. We jumped on, I think we had about 2 minutes warm up, did about half a lap or whatever, no real practice at all, and managed to do an okay qualifying lap. We put ourselves in P8 in the livery created by TRL Lightning. You can see that masterpiece there, created by TRL Lightning himself for this race in the F50. So we should have a good chance of getting a good result. We've got the OP livery on. Let's see what we can do. Starting from P8. Now this was obviously the first race of the day, so yeah, free to the rear bias. That was to help out the front tyres for this track. Obviously you want the front grip for the S's. Now the S's was an area where I was struggling on in general with this track and combination. Losing quite a bit of speed there to other drivers, and it's probably where I lost a lot of time in my qualifying lap. So straight away, we're going to see if we can hang on in the slipstream. Now this race is all about the slipstream, as per usual with the road car races on Gran Turismo Sport. It's all about just sitting in that slipstream and utilising the overpowered nature of that slipstream just to keep you in the range of the car in front. So obviously the slipstream range is 1.5 seconds on GT Sport, so if you lose that, you pretty much, it's race over. If you lose that slipstream, it can be the end of your race, because the power of multiple cars dragging off each other is so strong on this game that it's very hard to get anywhere near them cars if anything is lost in terms of slipstream. So starting this lap, main aim, keep it nice and smooth lap 1, try and figure out how to be fast around here really. You can see that we were struggling, you'll see it in the way we're driving. First race of the day, just trying to really get up to speed, really trying to find the areas, following other cars, looking at other cars the way they're driving, trying to pick up some tips while we're driving ourselves as well. So this is the area where I was quite weak. You can see I was lifting off the throttle there, but I wasn't getting the rotation right and staying on the throttle at the right point through here. You can see it wasn't really carrying the speed through there, and I was also upshifting to 4th too early. I think if you have a little look there, we were going into 4th gear a little bit early, wasn't really getting the speed through there. As P7 really didn't do that corner too well either on this opening lap in this race. As we go into the final corner, one of pretty much 2 opportunities to do an overtake. There is another opportunity midway through the track, so turn 1 and the final corner are the main areas where you can get an overtake done at this track. So into the braking zone here, you can always go through, move up the inside, or the final corner, but there is the other braking zone midway through the lap down into that hairpin. But it's kind of a difficult one, that one, with the way the track is and the camber on that corner. So we're going to skip ahead again. Very static race as per usual with M300, and you can see we were actually starting to drop out the slipstream range. We're down to about 1.1 seconds away, coming up to a third of the way through the race, just over a third of the way through the race, and you can see that we've got cars ahead of us that have got a penalty. This is very important, because I think without them penalties that these cars are about to get, we were on the verge of losing the tow, because we're outside the range where it really drags you into the slipstream. And you can see down to 1.2, 1.1, 1.2, it's staying around that zone, but we're losing it gradually. And we're fast forwarding the action now to the penalty zone, so we can see how much of an advantage this is going to be. You see 1.3 seconds, we braked really late into that corner to try and pick up a bit more tow, sticking around 1.3, you can see it on the left hand side, gaining a little bit through that sector. I was very strong into the braking on turn 1. I did notice that I was gaining on a lot of people in front of me through there. I was able to brake quite late and keep the line through that corner quite well, so we were able to gain a little bit there. And also the final corner, we were quite good on the brakes there to gain a bit of time. So that, you can see with them taking that penalty, Etty Cartip and Patrick in front of us, that has actually helped us get right back into the slipstream range of the cars in front. So you can see now that obviously did help us out with the slipstream. As we skip ahead further on in the race now, you can see that we're gradually starting to lose that slipstream again. The pace just really wasn't there. You can see our lap times, 33.5s, there is a couple of 33.3s and 34.4s, etc., but it's not it's not really, we should be doing 32s in a slipstream, the odd 32, 33 zeros, 33 ones consistently. That is the type of pace that the top drivers were doing, the fastest drivers with the F50 here. So we needed to pick up our game really. You can see struggling a little bit towards the end of the race, also possibly took a little bit too much life out of our front tyres with first race of the day, maybe not braking quite as smoothly as I would have liked. It does normally take you myself a couple of races to really start to get the feel of the car and start being smoother. As we see that SDL Edu is going to go for a move up the inside there. He knows that we've got dirty tyres. We give him the space because I knew that we had ran wide on that previous corner, and that slipstream is gone now from P7. So we're going to rely on P8 being able to drag us back up into that battle up ahead, because we're starting to struggle. So fast forwarding again, you can see that Edu clearly a little bit faster than myself at this stage of the day. Now I knew that I would be able to pick up my pace as the races went on and we started getting more and more used to the track. So you can see just trying to stay in the slipstream as we fast forward all the way through these laps at lightning speed, and you can see that he's actually getting closer and closer to the group that are ahead. So he's starting to get into the slipstream range, so we might not be out of this battle in terms of I think there's P5 up in that battle, so top 5 is still possible. If we can pick up a P5, it would be pretty amazing. You can see there's a lot of cars battling up. That's because of the nature of these races with the strength of the slipstream. But you can see I'm hanging on there to Edu. He's nearly breaking my slipstream again. This is really showing you how poorly I was driving on this first lot of the day. However, we rejoin the action there now towards the end of the race, and you can see we got right into the slipstream range. He had picked up their slipstream range, and now we skip ahead to lap 14. Just a few laps to go now, 2 and a bit laps to go, and you can see a lot of chaos kicking off. Edu's managed to get himself right up behind that group of 4 or 5 cars there, and this is looking quite interesting now because we're going through these corners and they're all battling, and we're going to be able to get a massive nice clean exit from that corner and get a massive amount of gains through there, because they're all battling and we've got ourselves within under half a second, sorry, to this battle. As Edu goes for a move up the inside of Patrick. Patrick tries to shut the door, a little bit late really there, Patrick shutting the door on Edu. Edu was already up the inside. Edu makes that move, puts himself up to P6, and Sunglino takes advantage of that as well in the slipstream now and puts him up to P7. So now we've got Patrick in front of us in P8. We're in P9 still, pretty much. We started in P8, so we're actually down on 1 position, but we've only got 2 laps to go in this race now. Can we manage to get any sort of positions? You can see how close it is. It's very close between P5 and obviously P4 actually, I think up there, P4, 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9. So matter of a second or so separating 6 or so cars in this race. Shows you just how strong and overpowered the slipstream is. I think we mentioned it in so many videos. I really think they need to do something about it. They need to reduce it back to the old way, I think, the 7/10, 8/10 range. But we go to this. I mean, one thing that they don't need to do as well is the fact that we run these races on a weak slipstream instead of real. Real would be much better because it wouldn't be as powerful, but unfortunately they seem to want to run these road car races on an even more powerful slipstream. As Patrick goes for a move on Sunglino. I saw this happening, realised that he was going to be compromising on the exit and give myself a really strong exit from this final corner. We're possibly going to be able to go for a move going into the final lap now. You can see we're gaining quite considerably down the straight. You can see we're only a 10th away from the rear of his car. We pull out to make it clear that we're going to go for this move. You can see at this point we've pulled out before the 100 board, making it 100% clear on our intentions. Brake nice and late, hold the inside line, and he just turns in as if we're not there, and he's just totally ignored my line and reacted not very nicely. He's tried to wipe me out there, deliberately trying to wipe myself out. Fortunately, the penalty system has given him a 2-second penalty during that incident. So for once, the penalty system has actually pretty much worked correctly. Now, Patrick has apologised for all this incident, so there's no hard feelings between myself and Patrick. It's over and done with. However, let's have a little look at that on the replay. So you can see, follow my car from the chase camera. You can see how early we make the move. We pull out nice and early. Doesn't make any intentions to defend the line. So we brake nice and late, hold the inside. We keep our car very, very tight to the apex. You can see I'm all the way to the left, but you can see he realises really late and starts turning in even more, because I think he's just trying to cut me off. Instead of giving us space and holding an outside line and giving himself the inside into the next corner, which would have probably kept him in P8 anyway, he decides to just turn in and ignore that we're there, which is, it's not the best driving really. I think we had the right to go for that move. We made it clear we were going for that move. There's going to be disagreements between this in the comments, and I totally understand that. But I think this is a racing incident. I think he had the right to defend it before. If he was going to defend, he should have defended earlier, but he went too late, and that was pretty that wasn't very nice to see. I did not like that, especially in top split. Top split needs to show an example, and he clearly made a Momo's attempt on us there to send us to the shadow round. Fortunately, he got the 2-second penalty, so we fast forward the action. We don't react to it, what he did there. We're going to carry on. One thing I try my hardest to not do is react to that type of stuff and then wipe them out. So yeah, he's going to take a 2-second penalty, and we're going to get that P8 position back anyway. So no real gains through what he did there. He just cost himself time reacting like that. He could have held the outside line and kept that position. So not a nice situation. However, it's all forgotten about in terms of between myself and Patrick. We raced clean after this race anyway, so it was all forgot in a way. He has apologised directly to myself as well. So that's all done. Let's hope we can all race nice and clean in the future. So race 2. We go again. This time, again, not really hooking that qualifying lap up. Starting down in P9 this time. We actually one place further back. Before we were in P8, now we're in P9. Can we do anything in this race? We've got the PR1 driver in front of us. Can we make any progress in this race to maybe get a top 5? I wasn't expecting a massive amount of points from this race, but you know, anything we can get, it would be nice to pick up at least 300 points from this race at some point during the day. So again, just like the first race, we're going to try and take it nice and easy on the opening lap. Try and build up a rhythm. Now, we did have a bit of practice in between the two races. It wasn't very long because I think we were watching the replay on what happened between myself and Patrick for quite a while, having a look at the lines and stuff that we took, evaluating the situation, etc. And yeah, didn't really practice much. We did about, I think we managed to get on for a bit of time trial practice rather than going into a lobby. So this now was all about just trying to work out where we were losing the pace. I knew it was on that middle sector. It's definitely the S's that we were tending to lose a lot of time to other drivers. Throughout some of the other places on the track, I think we had very good speed, particularly the first sector in the braking in turn 1 and the final corner. I was quite smooth, and the way I was doing the corner, I was carrying quite good speed through the corner, getting on the power nice and smoothly, and it was actually gaining me a lot of time. It was just this section here, trying to get the line through here. I think that I was being overly aggressive on the initial part, and then not really getting the line and getting the rear slightly loose through the corner, not using enough of the curb also on the left hand side. As you can see, a lot of drivers, you can see behind me again, the TX3 driver gaining on the exit because I'm not getting the exit speed from that corner. Also, I was again shifting too early into 4th gear instead of revving out 3rd through that area of the track. But again, through the final corner, you can see I was very strong on this final corner, able to brake very late onto the throttle nice and early, and it was actually kind of bringing me back into the slipstream range. So the aim here was to try and hang in there again for as long as possible, see if we can improve on the lap times and bring them lap times down to early 33s if possible. From this place at P9, it's going to be very hard as TX3 has a little look up the inside there, not really braked late enough to go for the move, didn't get it done. We defended that nicely, and now yeah, you can see just try and hang on the slipstream and try and get our lap times into a more consistent range, because from this position, like I say, we're probably not going to take the result. To get a top, we need a top 5 at least, top 4 or 5. We wanted 300 points really from this race. Although road car races are not really my strength on Gran Turismo, I am making progress with them, especially if I start getting the feel of the car and the track, etc. Again, this track is not one of my strengths on the game. I tend to be stronger at the real life tracks, for example, like the Interlagos, Monzas, Suzukas, Spas. They're where I tend to get the better results in general. But we're working on these tracks. We're always doing them. Whenever FIA is on, I do pretty much every race. We stream it live, obviously, so make sure you hit that subscription button if you haven't already hit it, and hit the notification button so you don't miss future videos, because we are live every single FIA round as we now follow behind P8, trying to see if we can get as close as possible. You can see again through that section, you can really see visually on the screen at the moment, you can see the gap increase to the car in front, and behind us TX3 driver gets closer, but again into that braking for that final corner. We're very strong as Etty Carton goes for a move on TX3. A little bit of contact. He went for the move. He made it clear though. He made the move work. There was a bit of contact, but I think it was reasonably fair. He made it up into P9 with a bit of a dive, but yeah, he did it and got through cleanly. There was a tiny bit of contact, but no harm done there. TX3 saw him coming and gave him the space, so all is well behind us. But again, we're going to fast forward that action as we skip through some of these laps. You see, just trying to keep it nice and consistent. Again, 33.4 on the opening lap of this race. Not a particularly amazing lap again, but we're trying to get the consistency, trying to work out where we can go faster as we go. Again, a little bit faster. That's a bit better lap that time of 1 minute 33.1. Shows that we made a bit of progress on that lap there. in terms of speed, and we're actually starting to get a bit of rhythm as we look ahead, and I think that is PR1 Fire with a penalty. So Fire has got himself a penalty. It looks like a track limit penalty, so it won't be a massive one. Probably cut one of the corners on probably the really tight right hand corner, I think it was, as we skip ahead again and we do a 33.0. So improving on these lap times and driving very nice, and we've actually caught up really closely to this battle, only 3 seconds behind the leader, as you see up ahead. Fire about to take that slipstream with the bar filling up. He's going to take that half-second penalty, moves over to the right, just so that you can see cars moving over to the right to get past him, and now into the braking zone. We're following behind Fire as Fire goes very deep into the braking, and unfortunately he gets his left rear tyre just onto the grass, and once you do that on that corner, it is game over. You're off, and he's out the race pretty much now. This race is over for him. He's probably just going to have to try and recover something from towards the back and work his way through the field again. But we're up to P8, so we've gained a position now. We started in P9 and now up to P8 in this race. Can we see if we can manage to gain any more positions in this race? We've got Eddie Carton behind us. I know that he's quite an aggressive driver, and we witnessed it at the Red Bull Ring, obviously, when we got that little nudge on that final lap. But I still think it was it was a racing incident. It's one of them. Things happen like that in races. We're going to defend that inside, though. You can see, making it clear that I'm not going to let him through on the inside there. I saw the dive he did to the TX3 driver, so making that line mine on the inside, just putting the car in the middle of the track, just so he's not going to be tempted to go for a move. And again, Eddie Carton again looks like he's going to go for a move into the braking into turn 1. Is he going to look out? No, I could see that he backed out of that one, so we don't have to go defensive this time into turn 1. So we follow behind P7 again. Look how close the racing is up ahead of us. A lot of very close racing going on. That is going to possibly cause issues as we skip ahead a few laps again, as the racing was starting to build up and getting a little bit more compacted. You can see up ahead we've got almost a 3 wide situation between cars right in front of us. This is going to be an opportunity possibly to gain some positions. You can see 3 cars are going side by side through the S's. This is a part of the track where you really do not want to be going 3 wide. So this could be a situation where we're going to gain some places in this race and move ourselves a little bit further up on the grid as we try and improve that line through there, trying to get a solid exit this time, and we do it quite nicely. Staying in 3rd gear, we're going to rev that 3rd gear out, up into 4th gear. Can we go up the inside? We can't go up the inside. We're going to have to try and hang it round the outside of Edu. Can we make this move work on the left hand side? Going to brake very late into this final corner. You see TX3 driver have a look up the inside also. We brake nice and late, give Edu the space on the inside. He gives us a little nudge there. That's all fair. He had to obviously take some sort of line through there. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out, and we took back into Edu's slipstream there. So unfortunately, didn't get the move done, but we gave it a try. But we are starting to look a lot more competitive. You can see on the lap times on the right hand side, 33.1s, 33.3s, 33.1s, etc. A lot better than what we did in the first race. Still not what we would like, but what we would really like to be doing is 33.0s and 32.9s and 32.8s and 33.1s every single lap. But there's still a little bit of inconsistency in there, so hopefully if we don't get the result from this race, we can improve in the 3rd race of the day. And you can actually see we're looking very, very strong at this point, getting very close to Edu there, having to actually back out a little bit because we got a little bit too close to him, so we couldn't really get on the power as early as we'd like. Fast forward in the action again as we follow through this slipstream train that happens so often in these classes of cars. Not taking the best line through there, however, we get a good strong exit. You can see the TX3 driver quite far back there, but 1 point, just over nearly 2 tenths behind us, goes for the dive. We see that coming, give him the space, however he completely outbrakes himself, gives us a little nudge into the side. Was a little bit aggressive. He apologises there for it though, so all is well. We're not going to react like what Patrick did in the first race. We could have wiped him out. We'll have a little look at this. You can see that he's a little bit further back than when we went for the move, so he's going to go for the move into the final corner. Luckily I see that in the mirror. I can see that he's going to go for him, so I don't turn in at this point to block him off. We give him the space on the inside. However, I think that he braked a little bit too late, because you're going to see his car starts to straighten up, so he tries to turn in. The front of the car does not have the grip. You can see that he's turning in. It's starting to rotate on him at this point. However, he's took a little bit too much speed in. You can see now that his car starts to straighten back up there. You can see it rotating back to the left, and you can see that his line is getting compromised. He's looking like he's going to go straight on. We're going to try. We think at this point, we're giving him enough space, which we are. We've got plenty of space on the right side, but he's just completely outbraked himself. Give us a bit of a nudge into the corner and sent me nearly again into the shadow realm. Luckily, we avoid hitting the barrier on the outside and just about keep it on track. So not too much harm done. We managed to tuck back in and getting a slipstream. You see with hazard lights on there by the TX3 driver to say sorry, and we're not going to react by wiping him out in front. At the end of the day, I think he could have given us a position back, but I think if he would have given us a position back, that would have possibly meant a slipstream loss. So I wasn't too worried really about him staying in front of us at this point, because we can now just keep the toe behind him and hopefully he can drag us back into the battle in front. That is one thing. Like if it was a different type of race, I would possibly think that maybe he should have given us the slipstream back, but in this type of race where it's so important to be in with the range of the slipstream, I can understand why he would not have given that position back in this circumstances. So all is okay there as we work our way down into the next braking zone. You see we have Etty karting behind us there, nearly going off the track. We're skipping ahead to the end of the race of race 2. Not much really happening. We actually got overtaken by Etty karting. Didn't have the speed, however. We've got a situation up ahead of us with it looks like the TX3 driver's got a 4-second penalty, so we are going to get that position back by the looks of this anyway, and another driver has possibly a 1 second or half a second penalty. I think it's Edu, so maybe some sort of coming together between them, not too sure. You see P8 is going to lose a massive amount of time, 4-second penalty. We should be able to get past him into the braking zone, so up into P9, back into the position we started, and this race, yeah, pretty much where we started. No real gains. We started to drive the first section of that race really well, but again the little incidents kind of put me off my rhythm, so we had to go again. So race 3, this time we've managed to do an absolutely brilliant qualifying lap. Really started to get in the rhythm of this track. You see a 1 minute 32.7, a very nice qualifying lap to put us in pole position in a very, very strong lobby. Some very fast drivers in this race, Giorgio, Fire, likes of them. To be able to get pole in a road car race again feels really good. Obviously we had the slipstream, but a lot of drivers did. I think there was only a couple of drivers that didn't have the slipstream. So P1, can we make a better race of this? What we have to do is try not to make the same mistakes as we did in the SFR many months ago when we started pole position and we just dropped off. We really didn't look after our tyres, we just didn't really have the pace, and I think we ended up back down in like P6 or 7, so that didn't go well. We didn't want to repeat of that today. So starting the race, we're going to try and keep it nice and clean on lap 1 on the out lap and try and push as much as I can. Now I knew that Giorgio would be faster than myself, so what my aim here was to do was to drive a really nice out lap, try and hold on to the position until I felt that it would be more advisable for basically to let Giorgio tuck in somewhere, and then I can follow his slipstream and try and utilise his speed to keep myself in P2. I felt like it would have been possible because I felt like we were improving, especially with that qualifying lap, hitting a 1 minute 32.7. Felt really nice. The lap was almost perfect for myself. There was obviously time to be gained if you were a little bit faster, but for me it was a very strong lap. So you can see, looking at the replay camera, everyone following that slipstream train. I actually built a nice little bit of a gap to myself and Giorgio on this outlap. Did a very nice outlap, you can see. Hooking up the corners, driving it nice and clean, getting on the power nice and early, and actually starting to get this S's through here sorted as well. This was the key area where I got it completely right in qualifying, and I think from that qualifying I started to understand the way I needed to drive this corner. You can see more aggressive on the curbs, rotating the car so much better, and accelerating and using the full width of the track. We had a little moment on the exit there, you can see it almost pushing a little bit too aggressive, but still solid through there, much better than what we have been on the previous races. And now we go into that final corner, getting the braking nice and smooth, and again the final corner was where I was quite strong in getting on the power. So again, able to hold the lead to Giorgio on the opening lap. He's not able to go for a move this time. We need to try and keep it nice and consistent. However, I was pretty confident once Giorgio gets in a position he will go for a move anyway, so it was all going to be tactical. Try and see if we can get a podium out of this race. If we can get a podium from this race in road cars, it's going to be a great result for myself. They're not my strongest cars, it's not my strongest track, so I'll be 100% happy at getting any sort of result out of this. You can see that Giorgio behind us will be very strong. He's one of the strongest drivers in road cars as well. He's very, very fast in the N class road cars. So yeah, trying to keep it nice and smooth through that, trying to using the cut. You can see everyone in top split was really being aggressive on the corner cut through there. It's the line that is pretty much used by everyone, so if you don't do it, you're going to lose out on 2 to 3 times. There will be people that disagree with it in the comments, etc. But this is GT Sport top split. If Gran Turismo allow it, top split drivers are going to utilise that. If you don't, you're putting yourself at a big disadvantage, and there is no point giving yourself a 3 or 4 times disadvantage in a race. You've got to do the lines that are the fastest, as we see as we go through this section again, using the curb on the left, and again on this curb on the right side, getting your left hand tyre onto the curb, and again through this section, really utilising the line through there, straight line as much as possible, and actually doing it again quite cleanly. However, we're going to decide to put our hazards on here. I was trying to let Giorgio know that he could go for a move up the inside here, and I could tuck back into his slipstream. So you can see I put the hazards on there, but he chose not to go for the move. I was trying to urge him to go through. He chose not to go for it. Maybe he was a bit cautious, not understanding what I was doing. But again, we go over to the right hand side, making it pretty clear that he can go for a move. I think he's understanding now what I'm saying. I wanted his slipstream basically to help my racer and try and do this as cleanly as possible. It's going to be very hard. We let him go up on the inside there. We're going to hold the outside line, very much what I thought Patrick would have done on race 1. You can see if he would have done that, he probably would have been able to actually defend. And then we let Giorgio go, hold the inside on the pile nice and early, and get ourselves into P2. Now, this was deliberate. Some people might not agree with that, but it's more tactical. I knew that my race pace was not as strong as Williams Giorgio. If we now let Williams Giorgio lead this field, and I sit in the slipstream, and I can hold the slipstream and do some very good laps, hopefully, much better than what we did in race 1 and 2, etc. Maybe we can secure a podium position. If other cars are fighting and we drive this really sensible and really well, we should be able to get ourselves a gap, because other cars are going to be fighting behind us. I'm willing to let Giorgio dictate the pace at the front. Also, this helps my fuel. This race did require just a little bit of short shifting. On the opening few laps, I decided to drive quite aggressively. You can see at the moment, putting the lap times in. You can see the fastest lap of the race, a 32.7 at the moment by Devil. My laps at the moment, we dropped off a little bit on lap 3 because we had to let Giorgio go through. But now we're going to try and put the lap times in. You can see we go over the line with a 1:33.1, much better than what we had been doing in other races already. So hopefully we can maintain this pace all the way through the race as we carry on in fast forward mode. You can see the blue sectors coming up. That means their personal best, going through all the sectors, keeping it nice and clean. And you can see at the moment, if you have a little look on the track map, it's really working out. You can see in that top right hand corner how there's a gap developed between P3 and 4. So this strategy seems to have paid off for myself. We're in P2 and we've got a massive gap now as we look. We're coming up to a third of the way through the race, and we've got a big gap to P4. So if we've secured a P3 guaranteed at least from this race, we're going to come away with some very, very good points. And this was obviously the goal of why we let Giorgio go through, so that we could secure that gap. You can see behind us in the mirror, looking back, and also on the replay camera, you can see that gap actually on the track between P3 and 4, and it looks like that slipstream has been well and truly broken now. So this is looking very, very good for a very good result in this race. There were some big points up for grabs. I think the winner was going to get 357 or something like that, P2 340, and P3 obviously about 330 or something like 325, something like that. But they're very good points to secure, and that is why I drove it quite tactically, giving myself the ability to just sit behind Giorgio. Also, while I was behind Giorgio, I was starting to pick up even more tips, really following his lines for a number of laps. Obviously Giorgio, one of the better drivers in road cars, so it's very important to utilise the way they're doing it, watch what they're doing and learn from them. And I was actually starting to really learn. You can see the lap times much more consistent so far in this race, and can we go over the line and again try and get ourselves into the 32s in this race. If we can get ourselves into the 32s for race pace, I was definitely going to be extremely happy with that, because we didn't manage any laps in the 30. I don't even think we managed a 33.0 in any of the other races as we go over the line this time. And again, it's going to be a 33.1. We're going to skip ahead now to lap 7, the start of lap 7, and I think this is going to be one of our better laps in the race. You see we're about 7 tenths behind Giorgio at this stage. We've got about half second gap to P3, and I could see that I needed to push on because we didn't want to lose that draft range to Giorgio, and then P3 to get very close, especially with what happened in the first race. It was still kind of in the back of my mind on this race. It's a driver that's behind us now as a driver that tried to wipe us out, so we're going to try and make sure that we push on in this race and don't give him any opportunities to, you know, try and get any sort of revenge move again as we work away. And again, we've gone through first sector on a personal best. That's looking pretty good through there into the braking zone, holding them gears. One thing I've really worked out with these road cars is holding the gears before downshifting really keeps the car nice and smooth, and actually kind of helps in your braking. So that is one thing I've tried to pick up on. And again, through this corner, what I tended to pick up on was lifting into this corner here. So just lifting midway through there, little lift on the corner, back onto the throttle, and again little lift before we go into that the long left-hand corner, back on the front, let third gear rev out a little bit more, and you can see this has really helped us out. We're actually on a pretty decent lap. You can see we gained on Giorgio on this lap. We were 7 tenths at the start of it. Now we're under 7 tenths, so we're on quite a solid lap. But remember, Giorgio is doing these laps without any slipstream, so it really does show you just how fast he was at this combination, putting in some very good laps. I think there was Giorgio, Fonda, Fire, Josetti. These drivers were able to do these. Also, I'm not sure about Unfazed. I don't know if Unfazed was quite as strong at this combination as he has been in the past on other combinations, but these drivers, they're able to do that type of pace without any toe, and you can see we did that 32.8 on that lap, which was very nice. And we actually continued with a 33.0, 32.9, 32, I think another 32.8 or something like that. So very consistent driving I was putting in at the moment, and you can see we've actually got the gap to Patrick behind us over 1 second, and that is really nice to see because we're really close to Giorgio. We do need to do a bit of fuel saving though. You can see 4.7 laps of fuel left. That requires just a little bit of short shifting in this car. You can see as Giorgio takes that line that we're talking about through there. So important to do. If you didn't do it, you wouldn't really be standing a chance of getting the lap times in. But at the moment, we're driving 100% consistent. No errors in this race. Absolutely, probably one of my better races in the N-Class cars. It's not been the most eventful race. It's been nice and settled. A race that I kind of wanted after the first 2 races. No incidents. Just driving it nice and clean. Watching Williams Giorgio, learning from his lines, and really picking up some speed. You can see we've got that gap over a second still as we increase the gap through here a little bit there, up to 1.1. Sitting behind Giorgio and just trying to keep that gap under 7 tenths so that we can utilise his slipstream. As you can see that Patrick just briefly got himself back under a second, but again, as long as he's around 9 tenths to a second behind us, he's not going to be in position to really go for any sort of overtakes, and we're just sitting behind Giorgio around 4 tenths, 5 tenths back, utilising that slipstream, using the slipstream also to do a bit of short shifting. Now you can see getting the revs out there, trying to get ourselves as close as possible. We started to feel like we could break the slipstream. We've got the fuel down to 3.9 there as we go over the line, so we do need to do a little bit of fuel savings. We fast forward the action here, and you can see that that gap to Patrick is gradually increasing. It's gone up to 1.2. He does get it back through some sections where he's quite strong, and then the sections where we're strong, it seems to increase a little bit more as we follow through with this accelerated time. Just sitting behind Williams Giorgio. It was quite a static race. This is the way the racing does tend to go on GT Sport in these N-Class car races. It's very hard, especially with the slipstream. It's helping me out. If we didn't have the slipstream, if it was real slipstream, I don't know how much we would have been able to stay with Giorgio. I think we could have just stayed in the slipstream because we definitely improved on this final race, but I think it would have. I think if it was a bit more realistic overall to like games like iRacing, I don't think it would have been possible to stay within the range of Giorgio. He had a lot more pace than me, by about 3 tenths a lap. So I think he would have broke. If it was based on real life slipstream, he would have been away and walked away with this race. So it does help me out, this type of slipstream for me in these races, but I do wish that we'd go to a more realistic setting overall, because I think it's only fair that the fastest drivers are the drivers that pick up the wins and the positions in the races. But we're going to take this P2 by the looks of it. You can see going on to the final lap. We're going to rejoin the action there. You can see that we actually broke the slipstream to Patrick, but we need to do a little bit of short shifting on this final lap of the race in P2. So it looks pretty much secured. You can see short shifting our way, being very gentle on the brakes, being nice and smooth on accelerator. As we jump onto that replay camera, you can see the gap to P3, and you can see that there's a nice solid gap to P4. So we've done, I think we did the right strategy in letting Giorgio go and letting him pull us along and give us what looks like a very nice P2 position in this race. As you can see, taking it nice and easy through here, not really pushing too hard, just trying to keep the rhythm going as well though, whilst we're short shifting. Had to do a bit of short shifting on this final lap, which does give Patrick a little bit of a chance to gain a bit of speed on us on the final lap, but I knew I had the time to play with. We had a 1.5 second lead, so going into the final corner, keep it nice and smooth, make no errors on the final corner, use the full width of the track there, and just follow the slipstream and over the line. Clearly going to get a P2 from this race, so 100% happy with that. In this car at this track, to pick up the points that we're going to pick up in this race was extremely nice, and a pretty decent finishing time. Not the best of the day, but overall very happy with that. We're going to pick up, I think, over 300 points from this race. You can see P2, 340 points, well and truly happy with that. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. Let me know in the comment section what you thought about the incidents in there, and let me know anything else that you want to ask me in the comment section. And also subscribe. Like I say, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button so you don't miss any future videos or streams. We do stream FIA every single round as much as possible, and we do obviously some daily racing as well. Thanks again for watching, everyone.